Hi guys, hope you're all well. Oh, not plugged my microphone in. There we go. We're going to make I think the correct name for it is a spider veined Variscite, but I'm just going to call it a veined Variscite because it's a mouthful. So I've already done myself a little colour chip. This is quite a jadey green colour. I think what we might do actually is, as a little bonus at the end, we'll make some jade as well. But the main thing is doing the Variscite today. So you're going to need some translucent clay. Any translucent will work, guys. Just remember, if you're using a white toned translucent, to check your colour blend. I've just got a bit left over here that I left out. That's translucent and alcoholic, and that's it baked. So you can see there is a bit of difference in colour. Do yourself a colour chip before you start, then you know you've got the right colour. So yeah, we're going to need some translucent clay. We're also going to need a couple of alcohol inks, and probably I think I used this Mermaid and a dark green to get that tone, but it's one of those things that, you know, you just need a couple of drops and get it to mix, and you'll get a nice green then. There are some translucent clays out there, guys, already. I don't have one in this sort of shade. I've only got the emerald, which is quite a bluey green. So I've just mixed my own. You're going to need some liquid clay, clear or transparent. Clear's the better version of it. And you're going to need some metallic clay. I'm using gold. And all we're going to do is mix our own colour with translucent. And then we're going to do, very similar to how I did the Faux highlight, we're going to take some gold clay and we're going to water it down with some liquid clay and put some little lumps in, just to help us. But first we'll get some translucent going. And again, I don't want to make a massive amount of this, guys. So I'm just going to cut myself a chunk off, like so. Just pop that to one side. And what I want to do is try and get a couple of, not a drastic tone difference, just a subtle tone difference. So I'm going to just cut a bit of this off to mix with something else later, to mix with this colour later. And I'm just going to cut this in half just to make it easier for me, because of course we're going to get messy mixing. So I'm just going to make this pretty flat, then I can drip my ink onto it. I'll just give this a bit of a roll, and I'm not conditioning it yet, guys. Oh, cat fluff. Because I'll condition it while it's mixing in the pasta machine, if that makes sense. And don't forget to, you know, do your little trick of holding the fold and stretching it, then you'll not get too many plaques in there. So I'm just going to pop a finger cut on because I've still got ink under my nails from my test bit that I couldn't get out. So I'm just going to put a little, one drop of Mermaid, and I'll try one drop of lettuce. To be fair, this stone can range from a very pale green to a very dark green, so it won't really matter the colour of your green, if that makes sense, as long as it's what we need is some translucency in it. So I'm just going to spread that around with my finger. let it air off, and then I'll go and mix it. And that was literally 1 drop of Mermaid and 2 drops of lettuce green, and we've now got this lovely rich green, which should be about the same shade as that when it comes out the mixing, if that makes sense. So I'll just go and condition this and get it all in one colour, and I'll see you in a second. Okay guys, that was the first pass. Not quite as dark as I would like it, so I'm just going to go in again. 1 drop of Mermaid, two drops of lettuce, and give that a mix around. And it is a bit of a process guys, but it's better doing it in stages than getting a very dark green. And I would really recommend for this that you used maybe alcohol inks, or maybe some chalk pastels would help, or a very small pinch of a dark green colour, because you need that translucency. You don't want it to go opaque. And of course the alcohol inks, you won't lose the clarity then. Right, I'll go and do this again, and we should be at the right colour then guys. I just wanted to show you that you know, it can take a couple of goes to get the right shade. See you in a minute. Okay guys, I've got this lovely colour now. I think it's going to be slightly lighter than the test piece I did. And all I'm going to do is cut just a small piece of this off, and mix it with this translucent, just so we've got something that's tonally a little bit lighter. I'll just give this a flatten while I'm talking, just so we can mix it in and add a bit of you know, so it's not all the same shade. So I'll just, in fact I will put just a little bit more in, I think. So it's probably half and half. So we've got this piece, and then we're going to have a piece that's just a tiny bit lighter. So I'll go and get this conditioned. I'll be back in a sec. There we go guys, so I've got our 2 pieces now, and I think that's still on a 2, not that it matters. But you can see they're just slightly different tones, and I'll just stack this. I just want to get my piles a little bit thicker, because we're going to chop this up, and if it's a bit thicker it kind of helps, doesn't it? There we go. Right, we'll start with this one I think, and we're just gonna, in fact let me double stack this one again, and we're just going to chop it up as we would for any sort of quartzy stone. Not too small guys, just nice chunks. Maybe some a bit smaller than the others, like so. Let me make sure I've got all those bits together. Let's break this up a bit. In fact, I'll grab a bit of paper, I think, to put this to one side a second. If there's any that you think are a bit too big, just break them up a bit. and I will just take a few pieces to one side. Just let me grab a couple of scraps of paper. I'll just pop these bits on here. Oop. And I'm just going to chop these up. A little bit smaller. Just for some little crumbs to mix in with the bigger pieces. I just sprinkle them about. Just adds to the fracturing and the such. So that's that one, and I'll just double this one over again. Keep my pieces separate. It's quite warm in here, and of course the clay is really sticky. So I'm just trying to keep the bits separate. Oh, just chopped my finger. There, I think they'll be okay. And again, I'll just leave a little bit to one side to chop up a bit finer to give us those crumbs. Let me just split some of these larger clumps up that have got stuck. So that's them two. Now you could add a little bit of mica, you know, maybe some gold mica if you so wished, if your clay is very sticky. I'm not going to, but if you're having problems, it won't, you know, it won't take anything away from it if you use a bit of mica. In fact, you could colour your liquid clay with a bit of mica if you so wished. I'll just break these clumps into there, try and get them sprinkled over. Okay, so we've got our two lots there, and what I'm going to do just to show you the jade is I'm just going to take a little bit of each to one side, just a little bit, so I can make one doodah for you, but I'll show you how to make jade, or how I make jade. So we've got our lumps and clumps here, and we are going to mix them both together, guys. In fact, I'll just bring that pile over for now so they're on the same bit of paper. I'll just give them a little tumble together. just to get them to mix and break some of the bigger bits up. So there's our mix with some finer pieces in. Let's pop that to one side. I'm just going to bring my little tile in. Let's move them colour chips. And what we're going to do again, guys, is we're going to chop a bit of gold and mix it with some liquid clay. You could use gold paint at this stage, guys, with a little bit of gold clay in it if you so wished. You know I don't. Oh, I can't get into this. You know I don't like putting paint in my clay personally. You know, there is actually nothing wrong with doing it. I've had issues in the past, so I choose not to. So I'll just get my gold. Oh, this is really fresh. It's going to be a bit of a doodah to chop. I'm just going to chop myself a couple of pieces off. And we need a piece to chop up fine in a second. And I'll just chop this up as fine as I can. This is the one that we're going to mix with liquid clay. And it just helps if it's chopped up a little bit first. It helps it to mix. So I've got my liquid clay here. If it'll come out, that is. Bet this is one of the ones I've got a ball in. Hang on a sec. I'll just pour a bit out. And I'll just get my little spatula thing. If I can find my big one. This one will have to do. And this is the, it takes a minute to get it going, guys, but once it's going, it's fine. And you could use any of your liquids on this, guys. Your Cernit Clear. I think Sculpey do a clear one now, don't they? Well, I know they do. I've got some over there. But you just want to get this into some sort of a paste, really. And it does take a minute to do. I'm just going to keep adding clay, liquid clay to it until it's runny. And like I said, this can take a good minute to do, so I will pause the camera, get it mixed up, and come back when it's at the right texture. I'll see you in a sec. Okay guys, I've got a nice gloopy mess there. I just need to chop this bit of gold up to sprinkle in. I probably won't even use all that, guys. You don't really need that much. I just make these really small. I did have a tip off a lady where she said if you just flash bake the clay, you could grate it in. And I did try it, but I totally forgot what I did with the bit I'd baked, so, and I couldn't be bothered doing another one, so I'm just chopping these up into little crumbs like so. And I'm just going to sprinkle this around. Try and not get too many big bits of it. We just want little sprinkles, which is easier said than done when your clay is a bit sticky. You could add a bit of foil as well if you so wished. Again, not something I think it needs, but you know, there's lots of folk doing that at the minute, isn't there? Adding bits of foil into the mix. Sorry guys, I'm trying to break some of these clumps into smaller clumps. Probably would have been better if I'd have dusted it with a bit of mica, to be honest. But I shan't worry about that now. I've barely put any in. Just enough for some little smudges here, there and everywhere. We'll just break some of them up and I'll just give it a tumble to get them mixed in. There we go. And I think I'll add the clay into this, and then it'll be easier to mix on the tile. And we just want to get this nicely coated, so this is going to be messy. And I'm covered in it already. Let me just scrape some of this excess to get most of it on the clay rather than on the tile. Oh, losing it. Go back. And just try and make sure all your pieces are nicely coated. Oh my god, look at the state of me. Can't take me anywhere. Right, that all seems to be reasonably well coated. I'm just splitting up some of the lumps in case they aren't coated. Just have a quick see and I can split them up. Most of them are quite well coated, I should say. Ugh. Get off. Just give it a tumble again to catch those bits that weren't. Okay guys. Oh, that is such a sticky mess. I'll just go and clean my hands up a little bit, and then we'll come back and get this consolidated. See you in a minute. Okay guys, I'm reasonably clean, and all we're going to do now is just consolidate our block. Let's move that bit of paper. And it does take a bit to get this together, guys, because of course you're trying to get the air out, aren't you, and the such. Oh, I could have used my square pairs, couldn't I? But I suppose that would have been more more work. just going to let that sit a minute because it seems to be fairly well consolidated. I'll just pop that there for 1 sec and wipe this up. And while that's just sitting and resting, I'll try and get as much of this gold off my hands as I can. We'll do the jade. There we go. So we've just got these little bits, haven't we, that we had put to one side. Same thing really, just break your lumps up if they're a bit too big. And then we've got our lighter shades. Trying not to get any bits of gold on these. Just break everything up, give it a mix. This is dried off quite well now, so it's not as sticky. Just breaking up some of these bigger bits. This is a basic jade, guys. It's not it's not brachiated or anything. It just makes it's similar to how I do my rose quartz. We're not going to put anything in it. We're just going to tumble it all nicely together and then bring it together in a block. And you can smush this quite well. You want the colours to merge, if that makes sense, a little bit. Just makes it look a bit more realistic, really. And what I'm going to do is just slice down the middle. Oh, because I've just got such a little pieces all. I'm going to slice down the middle and then put the backs together. So that'll be the face of my jade. And I'll just grab this little, or maybe, will this one do? I think this one will do. Just going to pop that into my mould. And I've still got bits of gold on my fingers. Give that a roll in. And let's pop this out onto a scrap of, oh, not that one, that's waxed. We'll just pop that out onto a scrap of paper there. You see I've picked a bit of gold up, but it'll come off when I sand it off later. So there's our super quick jade, which was just two very similar tones of translucent and green mixed together. I'll pop that to one side and let's bring this in. And as usual, guys, I'm going to wipe the surface off with a bit of alcohol. It just helps me when I'm working with it more than anything. So I've got a wet wipe and I'll just spray some alcohol on and just clean this up a little bit. Oh, it's so sticky. I just prefer to do this, guys, than having, you know, a lumpy sticky mess while I'm working with it. At least if the outside's got some of that liquid off it, it's a bit easier to work with then. There, that's better. And you can kind of see what's going on with it as well then. Okay, so I'm just going to use a couple of moulds again, guys. Let's see. I'll use that one because it's one of my favourites, and I'll do these 2 moulds. Again, you could roll it out and do a use a cutter, guys. I'm just doing this because you can see our pattern there, because I just like using the moulds, don't I? So let's pop you in there. And I'll do this little one while I'm at it. Again, just cut another little slice off, and you can see the sort of thing we're going to get with this. And just get that to pop in there. Let's get these rolled. I'll just cut this excess off this one. Just making sure it's in the mould properly, guys. Ooh. Let's pop these out. It's got to be a bit more careful with these because of course they're a bit sticky. And that's those 2. And of course they will need sanding and the such. Let me just clean those edges a little bit with my finger. Round them off a bit. There we go, that's those 2. And we'll do these. Or should I just do... I'll just do one of these, guys, because I'm going to end up with loads of pendants and nowhere to put them. And I'll just get this deforming a little bit before I pop it in. I can put this one that way. Just give it a press to get it into the shape. Make sure it's pressed in well. A little roll. Let's see if we can skim this top off nicely. Out, there we go. That's that. And I've just got this little scrap, haven't I? I think I'll just make a little bead, guys. Let's see if I can get it to come together nicely for a bead. There we go, and a little bead. I think I'll just push my pin through this. Get a little hole in it already, because you know I'm not the best at drilling beads. Right, I'll pop these in the oven, guys, and I shall see you in a more when they're done. See you in a minute. Hi guys, I'm back. Okay, obviously they need a really good sand to get rid of the surface oozing and the such, which I'll do in a minute. I just wanted to show you them before I did it, then you know what to expect. So that's those, and there's the little bead obviously, but there's the jade. You see, by smushing it together you get a really soft blend of the colours, and once this is polished up, it looks quite realistic, I think, for the plain jade. So I'll go and give these a really good sand. I'm just going to use my usual sanding pads, and then I'll buff them with my Dremel. I'll go and get that done, guys, and I'll see you in a sec. Hi guys, all done. These two I just roughly sanded and then what's the word I'm looking for? UV resined. So I just got rid of the lumps and bumps on the surface, then I UV resined them, mainly because I was being lazy. But these two have been totally sanded and buffed by hand, and I'm really chuffed with how these have turned out, guys. If I look at the photo that I've used as a reference, it looks very realistic, and of course the jade, very simple, but it works, doesn't it? You know, just make sure you smush it well so that you get a bit of a blend between your two colours that you've used, but that smushing just gives it a bit of depth to the jade. So there's your little bonus, and there's your pieces. I'm not going to do anything with them, guys. I would sooner wire wrap them, and this video is going to be long enough as it is. But there we go. Oh, there's a little dimple on that one, I've just noticed. Needs another coat. But there we go, guys. Just the gold veined Variscite. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys.